Hey everyone, welcome to the first preview of Tactician, the turn-based game engine. What does that mean? So, Tactician, it enables the rapid development of turn-based games. It has a C# SDK, to the .NET 2.1 standard that kind of runs everything. And then this, what you're looking at, is called Tactician Workshop. It's a visual designer and playtesting tool that runs on top of the SDK that allows you to design and build games with the data that's exported as JSON files, so you can take it into your application, no problem. Visit tac.dev to learn more. For now, let's just jump into a demo. I'm going to show you how this thing works. What we're going to do right now is we're going to see and play a very, very simple game that lets you move around a hero around a board and then kill an enemy and get some experience points. I know that's really basic, but what that's going to let us do is kind of focus on some of the concepts behind Tactician. And so hopefully the goal here is to get you to understand kind of how all this stuff works, and hopefully you can sort of glimpse some of the complexity that's going to be possible once you start putting stuff together. So for now, though, we're going to take this little demo where we move around and shoot stuff, and we're going to build it from scratch. So let's go to our new game here and delete the game data. And while we're here, turn on streamer mode, so that way we can see things better. Okay. To start with, we have a few things here: abilities, actions, rules, scenarios, yada, yada, yada. I mean, there's a lot of stuff here. It's all going to make sense by the end of it, I promise you. So what we'll start with, though, is we will create a template. We'll call this our hero. So a template is, if you think about chess, for example, you have 8 pawns on your side of the board. Each of those pawns would share what's called a template. They all have the same rules, the same things they can do, but each individual pawn in Tactician would be called an entity. It has, it records where it is positioned on the board, if it's moved or not, that sort of thing. So here, you're defining a template for our hero. It has a name, it has abilities. We haven't defined any abilities yet. It has components, which is sort of the heart of Tactician and the data that runs Tactician. So here, for example, you see a bunch of system stuff. We don't need to worry about it. What we do care about, though, is location. We want to be able to add this to the board and have it appear. Something that doesn't have location, like an entity like a player, for example, or something that doesn't actually exist in space. So now that we've created our hero template, let's start a new scenario. We'll call it demo. And we'll go ahead and load it up here. And let's set a board size to 7 for now. And then add an entity to this. We'll call it a mage. And this template is type hero. Which, okay, hold on. It's off the board. Let's adjust its position here, so that it is right there. So yeah, we got this going on. You might notice that everything is kind of gray right now. It doesn't have a lot of color. This is just the 2D card. That's because Tactician doesn't really care how things look. That's really up to you as the game director. Do you want to have a 3-dimensional map, 2D map? Do you want to have animated characters? However you want to do this, Tactician can support it because it doesn't actually have a bias towards the presentation of your game. And that's a big strength, I think. So it allows us to be much more flexible when we're building our games. So we have the mage here. It doesn't look like anything. We can change that. Gotta look good. Gotta look good. So we'll make this little forest here. We give it a mage icon. Yeah, looks good. Okay. First things first. we want our mage to be able to move around the board. So that means he needs an ability to do that. So abilities are things that can happen, as opposed to things that are happening, which are called effects. All right, so we have a move ability. We haven't defined what it actually does yet. This is just going to give us a list of possibilities for what you'll see here. So agent requirements, no agent requirements. This is what you could use to check to see if it can move, for example, if it's stuck or it's, I don't know, for whatever reason. Board selection, this is how big of a selection you have for the ability when choosing where to move. For now, all is fine. Target type is position as opposed to entity. So position is a point in space. Entity is, is targeting an object. We're targeting a point in space. And the position requirement is 0 entities. Yeah, that's fine. So we need to add that to our template now. So under abilities, we say move. And of course, if we hit play, nothing can happen because there's no action associated with that ability. So let's go ahead and create that action. Actions are used by abilities and rules, which we'll talk about later, to create effects. And effects are the things that actually change the game. What you're seeing here is this will be an English language description of what this does once you filter it out. And then modify effects are things that change entities, and remove effects, of course, remove them. So we want to add a modify effect to move our guy. So an effect has a source, the thing that's doing the thing, and it has a target, the thing is being changed. So in this case, the source and the target are the same thing. They are the agent of the ability, the thing that is actually running this ability. And we'll use a different one later, but for now, it's all pretty straightforward. Ability agent, good. Operation is going to be set, and we're going to set the location dot position and force it to be a position on this target. But what is the modifier? What are we actually setting? And in here, from the ability, again, from the ability though, this time we will get location dot position. So as the ability is processed, it will determine, these will have positions, and then it will see if it's valid, and then we have an option to do that action to set that position on our agent. So agent sets location.position on agent to abilities location.position. All right, seems good. And we'll go to our ability now, and we will set that to move self. Okay, if we hit play, all right, we can move everywhere, which is, maybe a little overpowered. No problems. We can fix that. So before we had board selection set to all, like everything. We want that to be one of these things here. I don't know if you're really into math or not, but you may not have heard of Manhattan distance. I promise you, if you've played a strategy game, you have seen it. And Chebyshev anyway. You may like those things, you might not. I do, but anyway, it works. Let's just say it works. Moving on. So the minimum distance will be 1, so you can't move on top of yourself. The maximum distance is going to be, we can set it to be a constant, like everything that moves, but let's actually be a little more interesting. Let's make it so it determines, like the entity itself determines how far it can move. So we will go to the abilities agent yet again, and we'll get an attribute called max move distance. Now, if it's not on the entity, it'll default to 0. So we need to go back and change that later. But so the maximum distance is that. The origin, this is where the board selection starts. Now, of course, we want this to be where our agent is. It might be, where the mouse is, for example. There are other things it could be. But for now, the abilities agent, the thing is doing the thing, we want to start there in our board search. And if we hit play, And if we hit play, nothing happens. I didn't add max distance. Okay. Templates, hero. So we go to our components and the entity component, and we add an attribute. Max move distance. Let's set the value to 2. So now if we hit play, there we go. We can move 2. Or this is 2 in Manhattan distance measurements, but you get the idea. Sweet. Now let's add a little monster there. So under templates, make a new template called monster. And then once again, we'll add the location component. And then we'll head back to our scenario. And we will add a monster entity and call it zombie. So template is a monster. Again, we need to add a position override. Type position 3 and 5. Yeah, looks good. So now that we have this on our board, hold on. Let's make it look like something. There we go. Cool. Oh, that green is hideous. Okay, hold on. Gotta look good. Gotta look good. Nice and gray. Always safe with gray. Okay. When we play the game, now we realize we can actually move on top of our zombie. That's not what we want. And so one of the things about Tactician is that it doesn't make assumptions about how your game works. It doesn't assume that things can't overlap each other on the same tile, for example. We get to set that up ourselves, which gives us a lot of control. So it could be a zombie, it could be a table or a wall, it could be, whatever. Maybe a ghost, you can walk right through it. It's your game. So under our templates, we'll go to the monster, and we will add a new attribute called box movement. Now this isn't magical. I can call this anything I wanted to. I can call this solid. And that would work too. The trick is how I actually apply it to the ability to move. So we'll go to our movability. And before we had a position requirement that was empty. But now we're going to make a new one. So this is going to do, it's going to query every entity for every position that it's looking at. And so entity has blocks movement and it is true. So if it will count the number of entities that have this. And so this will only be valid. The position requirement is only true if it has 0 entities where blocks movement is true. So we hit play again. Cool. So this has the blocks movement attribute you can see there on the right. And so when we get close to it, it's like, no, there's something there that has blocks movement. We're done. We're not going to go there. Awesome. Next up, we want to do some damage. We want to actually, make some change in the world. Right. We're going to make a new ability and call it shoot. And, we haven't made the action for this yet. We'll come back to that. Once again, agent requirements for this demo. This could be like ammo or whatever. Board selection. Yeah, actually, let's go and set that up now. We use Manhattan distance again. A constant value of 1 for the minimum distance. The maximum distance, we'll call on the agent again to get their range. And then the origin, once again, will be the ability agent. So, good. And this time, we're not targeting a position, we're targeting an entity. Now, again, we could have some target requirements on there. It's on a different team or, anything you want. But it's a demo and there's only one thing to hit, so no big deal. But we still need to add two. So we need to add an action. Then we also need to add a range to our mage. Let's add the range first. And one other thing. So here's our attributes here. Let's say range. Here's an integer of type 3 or value 3. And then let's go ahead and add something called damage. Call that a formula. A formula in Tactician is something that can be evaluated as something else. So in this case, we're going to be evaluating it as an integer, which you'll see we do that, how we do that in the action later. But it could be anything. But if you're familiar with role-playing games, 2d6 means roll 2d, 6-sided dice and add them together. Okay, so we will go to our actions now and add a new action called damage target. So again, modify and remove effects. If you're modifying something, the source entity, the thing that's doing the effect is, again, the ability agent. Operation is going to be subtracting health of type integer, and of what amount? How much health is being subtracted here? Well, we're going to get the ability agent's damage and force it to be an integer. So that way we're not doing some crazy stuff, adding a boolean to health, like no good. The target entity, what are we actually targeting with this? That is going to be the ability target. So as this, so agent subtracts agent's damage from health on ability target. So as this ability scans the board for valid targets, that's going to feed that information into here, which will then create the effects that are used to change the values on that target. So we have created the damage target effect. Now we need to add it to our ability. Shoot, action, damage target. One thing we haven't done yet, we need to go back and add health to our monster. Hear those crows out there? Yeah, me too. So, and it's hit 13, so we can't one-shot it accidentally. The Tactician SDK actually has tools to check for missing attributes like this. I just haven't added it to Workshop yet. It'll come. Okay. Let's hit play. What do we got? Our monster has blocks, movement, and health, and this guy has 2d6 damage, move distance of 2, range of 3. So move in range. Nothing happens because we didn't give him the ability. Man, you record something 10 times in a row and you think, I got this time. No, it's always one thing. Okay. Boom. Okay, so now we can see that if you look in the bottom left, you can see what's going to happen if you click here. It's hero subtracts 2d6 from health on target monster. And sure enough, when we click it, that happens. So health is down to 9 now, and do it again. Down to 1, and down to 0. So this is expected, actually. Again, the Tactician doesn't have any expectations about how your game works. Maybe if health is 0, it turns into something else and it falls to the ground. But we want to actually remove it. And also give XP to our hero who just did the work. Also, by default, enemies can't, or attributes of integers can't go lower than 0. That's a default. You can change it, but that saves a lot of heartache later, I promise you. Okay, we want to add something called XP to our monster. This is what it's going to award the mage when it kills it. And then we want to go to our hero and then create an attribute where it can store XP that it's earned. All right. So now what we're looking at now is now we're coming to the rules and triggers part. Rules are things that kick in or can kick in after an effect takes place, after the game is changed in some way. So we're going to add a new rule called when entity is killed. So the phase, when this actually is checked to see if it needs to go into effect, is after effects have been done. Party 0, that's fine. We haven't made any triggers yet. That'll go here, and we haven't made the action we want to use yet. So we'll come back to that. But these are the two things we need to make. Let's make the trigger first. So the trigger is target health 0. And this is going to be what's called an entity query. So after an effect, a query is run on every affected entity. So it just compares two values. The first value we're going to compare or look up is the effect's target and its health. So remember, effects are things that have happened. Abilities are things that can happen. So we want to see something just happened, find the target, check its health. And if that value is less than or equal to 0, then the trigger is fine. Effects target health is 0. And now we'll add that to our rule. Cool. Action. So now what do we do when that rule is triggered? So now we're going to make a new action for this rule called remove target and reward XP. So this is going to use both the modify effect and the remove effect. We'll do one at a time here. So the source, the thing that's awarding the XP, is going to be the effect source. The thing that did the thing, that's what's going to be creating this effect. It's going to be adding XP to itself. So the source adds 0 XP to its source. Well, the value actually is now the effect's target's XP. So when the mage hits the zombie, this will be the source, and this will be the target. We want to get the target's XP and add it to the source. Source adds effect target's XP to XP on source. That's the XP part. Now we want to remove it. This is much simpler. The source, what is creating this effect? It is the effect source. And the target, what's being removed, is the effect target. There we go. Source removes effect target from the scene. This might seem, a little too straightforward, like, of course, right? But it's also possible that you might want to create a spell that removes something. It removes itself automatically, or moves to a different board, or something. Again, there are no preconceptions in Tactician on the game you want to make. And so this makes it, again, super flexible and powerful for you. All right, so we've created this action, remove target and award XP. Now we need to actually add it to the rule. So when entity is killed, remove target and award XP. Let's hit play. And 1, 2, 3. There we go. So we have removed the target from the field, and the hero is free to move about the empty battlefield as it looks for its next victim. This would be where in your game you would add settings like, okay, when there's no more enemies, you've won the game, etc. This is also stuff that Tactician will support in the future, but for now, this is where our demo kind of comes to a close. I hope you see how powerful this can be when you put it into practice. I hope it all made sense. And please check out our website if you want to learn more, tac.dev. And I'm Ted. This is Tactician, and thank you very much.